but the same old trouble, villains always knocking at the door. Pretty pictures on the page, but nothing ever stays the same.
Thank you, Vandello, and welcome back to Graphically Novel. My name is Josh Wasta, a.k.a. Fallout Fieri, and with me is my Reggie to Archie, my
Reggie.
Mr. Weatherby to my Jughead. It's Bear. Today we are doing Archie and Riverdale, the show on the CW, which is so much of a CW show.
Our second CW show now, right?
Constantine
was a CW.
He went to CW. It started on Fox.
Yes, true. Okay.
No, or NBC. One of the networks. And then he went Legends of Tomorrow. He's on the CW.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So we have discussed the CW on here. If you are a fan of Riverdale, we've got a treat for you because we're going to be discussing the graphic novel by Mark Waid and Fiona Staples, which is the new version of Archie. If you were to guess by looking at the faces and how this is drawn, if I were to ask you which came first, Riverdale or this new Archie comic, which would you say?
I would have a hard time guessing. It really harkens back to the old artistry. It's obviously more updated, more modern, but it's really reminded me of being a kid sitting in a shopping cart and going through the store and me going, Mom, comic books, and her just grabbing one off. Here, I recognize this one. This is Archie. You can read this.
It's wholesome.
It's wholesome. And I grew up in way more Midwest rural area than you did. Trust me.
I was reading Spider-Man and Batman, and you were reading Archie.
I was reading Archie and Transformers because apparently that wasn't going to be...
It's just robots dying.
Yeah, it's just robots. That's harmless, apparently. Did
you cry when Optimus Prime died?
No, I was really too young. I was excited that there was a Transformers movie, you know. I was like, oh my god, look, it's Unicron. Oh, I wonder if they'll make a Unicron toy. And they did, and it was expensive, and we were poor, so I never got it. But
you have told me the story of how you grew up on Archie, so I do have a special present for you. I went and found Archie Andrews' Where Are You? And Archie's Funhouse Summer Annual.
Oh my god.
The actual tiny... We're going to take a few minutes. I'm going to pause and I'm going to send it to Vandello's do's for us for a little bit while we page through these, because we're going to include these
after our down memory lane.
Yep, after our memories are refreshed. So, be back in a couple of seconds. Vandello, give us some do's. And we're back.
5 minutes for us, 30 seconds for you.
Not even 30 seconds. So do's go fast.
Oh, well.
So now that we've looked through this, I'm reminded of a couple things. Number one, Little Archie and Friends, which was like the Muppet Babies of Archie, although it probably came before.
Probably the inspiration for Muppet Babies.
What do you think?
I look at these and I remember the level of kid I was when I was reading these. These were perfect for me because they weren't real long. Some of the episodes within are just literally a page. This one here is like 6 cells. Boom, and that's it. We're done. A 5 or 6 year old, that's great for the short attention span. But there also wasn't a whole lot of character development, wasn't a whole lot of plot. But like I said, it was just something that was quick and easy to digest, especially for a kid.
Absolutely. And speaking of the not much plot at all, seriously, not much plot at all. One of the ones in the one that I have, Veronica trying to stop Betty and Archie from spending time together because she works at the beach and he's helping to build a sculpture thing for a contest. And she just has a bunch of different plots where every time she ruins something and Archie has to leave or Betty has to go somewhere else, they just end up in the same, and that's it. And like the whole punchline is her dad being like, well, what's your next idea? And her saying to stop having ideas. That's a punchline.
Yeah. This other one that I was reading was, I don't know, it was like 6 cells a page. It was probably 6 pages. And it just starts in with Archie being all kinds of happy and cheery, and I feel like $1 million, and it's one of those great days, and everybody runs into it is like, no, man, no, life sucks. No, this is bad. Why would you even think that this was a good day or anything? You get about 3 cells from the end, and somebody's like, hey, where'd Archie go? I really wanted to thank him for cheering me up. Yeah, me too. He's really kind of brightened up my day. We should have a party, invite him to be the guest of honor. And the last cell is everybody like partying and having a good time, and he's just kind of sitting there down in the dumps.
And if that was an episode of Riverdale, It would be a character that wasn't Archie, and that person would kill themselves by the end of the episode.
Yes.
Let's go from one extreme to the other. I'm going to wait on the graphic novel that is smack dab in the middle between these two.
Absolutely.
And let's talk about Riverdale for a little bit.
Yeah, vaguely representative of the Archie comics of old, because there is a redheaded kid, a blonde, a brunette, and a dude in a weird crown.
And also the Blossom twins are an Archie thing. So Cheryl
I don't even
and
remember them.
Cheryl and Jason were in Archie comics. But wow. Riverdale, and I'm not ruining anything because it is literally the first episode of the show.
Yeah.
Jason Blossom is dead.
Yes. Mysterious death. Don't know what happened. All you have is his sister's word. This is how it happened, and...
Who has a creepy Lannister vibe for her twin, by the way?
These are the redheaded Lannisters. Obviously.
Yeah, it's creepy. Riverdale, I mean, it is a CW show, so you have all the sex.
All the almost sex.
All the almost sex, all the sex, all of these things happening. But then at the same time, you have we're murdering Archie characters.
Right.
Archie is having an affair with his teacher, who does not look like she does in the comics, by the way.
And that's not really a spoiler either, because you find that out in the first episode.
Episode. But the first season is kind of who killed Jason, how did this murder happen, the kids are getting themselves in trouble. It gets dark.
Oh, way dark.
In this show, we generally just talk about the first season of stuff, but I will say I really enjoyed it through second season. Third, even as a gamer, got me.
I think I've only seen the first 2 seasons so far. I don't think I've seen season 3. I mean, I was really enjoying it through season 2. It was something that was new, different, fresh. We took basically a twist on all of our old, super conservative, harmless, feel-good characters and turned them into human beings.
Well, and one of the things that I really enjoyed was the presence of 80s and 90s teen heartthrobs as the adults. So
yes,
you have Skeet Ulrich
yes,
as F.P. Jones, so it's Jughead's dad. You've got Molly Ringwald showing up as Archie's...
2 or 3 episodes, but...
Of the first season, yes. She shows up throughout more. And then R.I.P., but... God, what a great performance. Luke Perry.
Yes, as Archie's dad.
As Archie's dad, who sadly passed away later last year. Was it 2018 or was it already?
I think it was earlier this year.
Earlier this year? Unfortunate because, man, he had really just come back with a vengeance in this role.
He was rocking that role hardcore.
But to talk about the actual kids that are doing well, I say kids, they're in their 20s, that are doing the main roles, the reason I asked you which came first is because the Mark Waid, Fiona Staples... Annie Wu and Veronica Fish also doing art. This came out before Riverdale did. So looking at this and actually looking at how they drew the characters, it's insane that these are not based off of these actors.
Yeah, they couldn't have found better actors.
And a new favorite of mine, Cole Sprouse. I've been following the guy that plays Jughead. I've been following some of his stuff afterwards, some of his other... He is killer.
I loved him as Jughead. I loved everything that he did with it. I love that he's kind of the other side of the tracks. And I think literally in Riverdale, there's tracks that go through the town, but he's the other side of the tracks kind of kid. He is probably my favorite character in the whole series.
Funny bit of trivia, which... There was no way you could have known. There's no way I could have known because this is way after our time. He starred in a Nickelodeon show. He was Cody in The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody.
Oh.
He was the Cody. Which,
Nickelodeon used to be my life at the time I was reading Archie.
Right? There you go. Worlds collide. And he was also on a few episodes of Friends. He was Ben. He was the son of the weird, awkward character. Well, they were all weird, awkward
They were all weird, awkward characters. He was in an episode of Friends, because I know that we can both probably say that we've watched that entire series.
I have not, actually.
Really?
No, I've caught an episode here and there. No,
that's right. No, you were Dawson's Creek.
For me, it was The Creek, Roswell. Like, if it was over the top and dramatic, I was all about it. Yeah. Like, I was CWing before the CW was a thing.
You tried to get me to watch Dawson's Creek on multiple occasions. I wasn't having it.
Joshua Jackson is a treasure, and we should treat him as such. Yeah, I actually just got done with Busy Phillips' autobiography.
I'm so happy for you.
Talks about her time. She was the only actress to have a recurring role on both Freaks and Geeks and The Creek. Boom.
All right.
This is just the kind of quality banter you get here at Graphically Novel.
Absolutely.
I have to say that like Mick Foley says things for a cheap pop right here
on
at Graphically Novel. But anyway, back to Archie. Riverdale, dark, crazy, awesome actors though.
And the graphic novel really plants itself right smack dab in the middle
Yes.
between the old school dime comics and the Riverdale series.
Right. Before we go to the comic, though, there is one more. All of the actors are great, but there is one more performance in Riverdale I just have to gush about, and that's Madeleine Pesch, who does Cheryl. Cheryl, every time she's on the screen, is just a force of nature.
Well, I thought you were going to say...
Mark Consuelos.
Yes, in all the stupid teen movies where he was just the drunk, stone, crazy dude running around.
Yep.
And suddenly he's like the straight-laced dad.
Well, not just the straight-laced dad. He's straight up. That's a performance that is amazing.
Right.
Listen, let me tell you, as a half Puerto Rican, do not mess with Hispanic mobsters. I'm just saying. I know it's usually Italian, and like that's the stereotype. They went right off the rails and went, nope, 100% Hispanic mobster. Go to the comic. No murder.
No murder. Still modern, hinting at the sex, but not really having the sex.
Right.
Plotline, still kind of feel good, harmless kind of plotline. Definitely more so than you had in the dime comics, the old drugstore comics. Really fast read, real page turner. I think I knocked out that whole graphic novel in probably less than an hour.
You can definitely see the seeds in Riverdale, though, of where the comic influence, because where the comic influences, it follows it very specifically.
Oh yeah, like there's certain story elements that definitely came straight out of that graphic novel.
The relationships, how people interact with each other, even the way that Betty and Jughead interact, very much something that came out of the comics and something that...
Yeah, and you get to see in the graphic novel how Jughead he's kind of that aloof. Their storylines completely differ. Graphic novel versus Riverdale. He's still kind of got that aloof, I'm super smart, and I think that's what they grabbed for Riverdale, where he is just super intelligent dude. They just moved it to, I grew up on the wrong side of the tracks.
The storyline in Riverdale is fantastic, but if you are looking for Riverdale, the comic, there is a Riverdale comic, but it is not the source material. It's not this Archie. Probably looking for something a little darker. There is a series of Archie comics that deals with the Necronomicon, and it's a horror comic.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That sounds entertaining.
Afterlife with Archie. And it starts with Hot Dog dies, so Jughead wants to bring him back from the dead, and he uses the Necronomicon to raise him, and of course causes everything to rise. One of the few that they interact with Sabrina.
It's like suddenly we jumped into an episode of Full Metal Alchemist.
Yes, it is. So then he resurrects Hot Dog, and he goes and gets
be created or destroyed.
And he goes and gets his daughter because he has this big alchemy thing that's coming up, and he merges
with Hot Dog.
With Hot Dog, and creates the
I know
best
that
friend.
is your favorite scene in that whole
my
series.
favorite part of that whole thing. Just the memes alone. It is the halfway point. It is not as, I'm just going to go ahead and say, hokey as the Archie comics that still kind of hold on to that ideal of being a 1950s comic in modern day, and has been for the last 60, 70 years. This one is more modern, but it's still
wholesome.
Actually, if you took the same storylines in the older Archie comics, modernized them and had somebody just add enough plot to them, that's what this becomes.
Oh yeah, basically.
Would you want to continue reading this comic?
Oh, absolutely. I don't want to read the Full Metal Alchemist version, apparently.
I'm going to fold this in because to do Sabrina would kind of be the same kind of thing.
I have yet to watch any of Sabrina. I mean, I remember the old school Nickelodeon.
Right.
Melissa Joan Hart.
Right. Sabrina Explains It All? Yeah.
Yeah, right. I forgot about that. I forgot about Clarissa.
It's similar. The show is going to be a lot darker and deals directly with things like Satan than the comic is. And again, there is the modern interpretation of the Sabrina stuff. She does show up in this Afterlife with Archie. And I think she even has a darker series that's out. It's interesting to see the evolution, and it's interesting to see what they decided to go with. So
the nostalgia alone makes me want to go and read the rest of the Archie comics, the new Archie comics.
I like to ask hypothetical questions. By now, we're going to get letters about it. Why don't you just review the thing? Because I like to talk. Exact same actors, exact same everything that is set up in Riverdale, but no murder, no sex, more like this. Do you think it lasts past season 1?
No, I don't think so. I think it needed a villain. I think it needed something to drive it. Other than that, it's maybe if it was just like a kids show.
Right.
You know, something that was specifically labeled on the Netflix for Kids section or the Disney Kids or something like that. I think it might make it there for a few seasons, but anything that anybody over the age of 12 is going to want to watch, no, it doesn't make it past the first season.
That brings us to the end of another episode of Graphically Novel. Tune in next time when we are going to talk about Lucifer.
Lucifer.
Which means that you need to go and watch Lucifer.
Yes.
And read the comic.
And read the comic. I have research to do. I'm sorry, I'm slow.
You can find us on graphicallynovel.com. You can find us on Twitter at Graphically Novel. Remember the 2 L's. And on Facebook, which we need to get you on that.
Yeah, sooner or later. I think I might be actually on the group now, maybe.
Direct all of your questions. Start with Bear Dash. Then we'll make sure he answers them.
Bear, have you figured out how to work this cursed machina we call technology yet?
But anyway, we will see you next time. And in the meantime, take it away, Vandello.
Come with me, I'll tell a story that you might have heard before. Graphically novel, but the same old trouble. Villains always knocking at the door. Pretty pictures on the page, but nothing ever stays the same. Do 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 do. Come at me, and I'll show you something you ain't never seen before. Right or wrong, or can't we all just get along? My mask is no different than yours. Pretty pictures on the screen, but nothing's ever as it seems.
Nothing's ever as it seems.
Do 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 do. Hero or villain, loved or